Welcome in, everyone, to my first recorded start sit episode of the 2023 NFL season. I'm going to give you one must start and one must sit player at every position for week 5. Let's jump into it. So, the first one, must start quarterback Matthew Stafford, home against Arizona. I think this one pretty much goes without saying. He's got all of his weapons healthy. Arizona's defense is crappy. We're going to start Matthew Stafford. I have him as my quarterback 10. So he's a must start this week. Moving on to the must sit quarterback. I know he's been great, but I'm going to sit CJ Stroud this week against New Orleans. We know that New Orleans defense is pretty solid. They eviscerated the Patriots last week. I love CJ Stroud, but he's a rookie. No Tank Dell. He's going to miss with a concussion. Kind of makes me like CJ Stroud even less. Tank Dell is an important part of their offense. So, unfortunately, CJ Stroud is a sit for me. I have him quarterback 18. Next, must start running back. Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard for me. He has a great matchup against Miami. You can run on them. And on top of that, Miles Sanders is out with a groin and a shoulder injury. A lot of injuries for Miles Sanders. So Chuba Hubbard's going to get all the work. And I love that. So I have him at running back 23. He's actually been low-key more effective than Miles Sanders this year. But yeah, running back 23, that's a must start in almost every league. Must sit running back. I have seen some people recommending this guy. I don't know why. Gus Edwards. He's playing at Tennessee. I know. Zach Moss ran on Tennessee last week. It was on one big run. I'm not expecting the same from Gus Edwards. Tennessee has been impossible to run on all year. And it's possible Keaton Mitchell comes back for this game. I'm not sure. But either way, I don't want to start Gus Edwards. I have him down at running back 33. I've seen him in the 20s for some people. I don't get it. So he's off my board. Definitely not starting Gus Edwards this week. Must start wide receiver. I know I kind of hated on him all offseason, but he's been great. Adam Thielen at Miami. Miami's going to roll over Carolina. They're going to have to throw, in addition to getting Chuba Hubbard involved as the only running back. Adam Thielen is pretty much a must play. I have him at wide receiver 20. That's ahead of guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Jordan Addison and Hollywood Brown that people are not really asking about. So Adam Thielen, wide receiver 20, he's a must start, and he'll be in my lineup for sure. Unfortunately, I have no shares to put in my lineup, but if I did, he would be. A must sit wide receiver, Amari Cooper. We know that Deshaun Watson is going to miss this week. And I know some people are going to say, well, Amari Cooper is very talented. We should start him anyway. No. Not with PJ Walker. PJ Walker is fantasy poison. It's against San Francisco. We cannot start Amari Cooper. I have him at wide receiver 43. I mean, off the board entirely. Elijah Moore, I have at wide receiver 58. You can't start any of these players. And I didn't bother to write him as the must-sit tight end, but David Njoku is also a must-sit as well. The whole passing game is a no-go with PJ Walker in at quarterback this week. Must-start tight end, Logan Thomas. I disagree with the Washington offense making Logan Thomas 11 targets last week a featured piece, but Ron Rivera thinks and Eric Bieniemy thinks that that's a good way to run their offense. Again, I disagree, but they're doing it. For fantasy, we don't really care if we agree. We care about what they're doing. And they are giving Logan Thomas volume. He plays Atlanta. It's a matchup that can be exploitable. I'm not super concerned about Atlanta. Could be a back and forth game, Washington versus Atlanta. So I'm not expecting Thomas to get scripted out or anything in terms of a run game. So yeah, I have Logan Thomas at tight end 8 in PPR. Very few tight ends have guaranteed volume, and if he stays healthy throughout the game, he's going to have guaranteed volume. Now, the last one, must sit tight end, Tyler Higbee. Now, we did talk about Matthew Stafford as a must-start quarterback, so you're probably thinking, well, why would Tyler Higbee be a must-sit tight end? Well, last week, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua had 12 and 11 targets each. they dominated the target share. There's no guaranteed volume for Tyler Higbee. He's fighting for scraps with Tutu Atwell. And Tutu Atwell played almost every snap. So there's no guarantee that Tyler Higbee's even the third target. He could be the fourth target this week, but at best, he's the third target. So I'm not looking to start Tyler Higbee. I have him down at tight end 17. I would try to go another way. Someone like Zach Ertz or Jake Ferguson, even Kyle Pitts are players I would prefer over Tyler Higbee. Now, I appreciate everyone who's been watching the video. If you want the whole start sit rankings, they're available on the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasy advice. The link is in the show description. Additionally, now we're going to get into part 2 of this video. Part 2, again, if you sign up for the Patreon, you can ask these in advance Patreon questions. Yes, I have 9 questions today. But first, I'm going to read a couple of reviews of my Monday show. So Shimmy said, love it. Really appreciate hearing an insightful answer to my question. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I come here to do and why I have the YouTube channel, to make sure I can have those answers for the patrons. And then it's funny, actually, on the Monday show, I talked about selling or getting rid of Miles Sanders, the dynasty death of Miles Sanders, and now he's out. So it was good advice. Chuba Hubbard has looked better, as we talked about in the must start segment. So I appreciate that from Whale. Now, also, if you're here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out all the other content. Hit the notifications bell. All of it really helps me out. But with that said, we're going to get into the Patreon questions. First one. What is Puka Nakua's ceiling now that Van non-factoring Jefferson is in Atlanta? That made no difference for Puka Nakua. As long as Cooper Kupp's healthy, Puka Nakua's ceiling's like a low-end wide receiver 1. But in Dynasty, he's great. I mean, and we saw what happened if Cooper Kupp is out. He's a high-end wide receiver 1. So, yeah, that's Puka Nakua's ceiling. Kirk Cousins rumors, rumbling, likelihood of him being traded mid-season. I still think those kind of trades in the NFL, you're better off assuming they're not going to happen. They happen like once in a generation. It would have to be a team that needs a quarterback on an expiring contract that's like in the playoff hunt. I don't want to like name teams that could have a quarterback get hurt, but it would probably be a team like that in the next couple of weeks. Maybe the Jets we've talked about, but I don't know if the Jets can really afford to do that. So they don't have their first round pick. So I don't know. Still tied up in the Rodgers deal. So my guess is it doesn't happen. Favorite quarterbacks for fantasy that aren't Josh Allen, Hurts, Herbert, or Mahomes? Traded Fields, of course. If I had to choose a favorite, I mean, I love watching Tua now. Feels like he just racks up the fantasy points. So I would say Tua. And also, of course, I have a soft spot for Trevor Lawrence, even if it hasn't been his best year so far. My first ever Dynasty question, since I'm redraft only until now, is Saquon a sell? If yes, how much? Unfortunately, I don't really think Saquon's a sell because his value has dropped so low. I would wait until he comes back and then see if you can sell him after some sort of good game. But yeah, I'm kind of moving on from Saquon Barkley. And then to kind of go with that, who are some tier down targets if you want to move Saquon? There aren't any. You can't tier down from Saquon to another running back. I would look to just move to a different position. Like if you could turn Saquon Barkley into DJ Moore, maybe. I doubt you can do that, but if you somehow can, that would be something I would look to do. Maybe you can look at, it's probably too late to like trade for Zay Flowers. Maybe someone is still distressed about Drake London and you can trade Saquon straight across for Drake London. Try those things, but I would love to move on from Saquon if I could get anything back. Any 2024 first also would be a good way to get out. Can you explain some of your reasoning for having Dak as quarterback 13 in Superflex? Well, now I have him at quarterback 12 with Deshaun Watson's little issues with his injuries. I don't disagree with you, but I'm finding it tough to sell him despite him being a borderline quarterback 1 for Dynasty. Well, I have my full Dynasty rankings on the Patreon. As I said earlier, patreon.com/fantasy advice. To be honest, why I have Dak that high is because there aren't that many great options. Of course, I have guys like Tua, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson above him. I even now have Kyler Murray above him now that the Cardinals don't look like a total dumpster fire. But other than that, I mean, you get to options like Justin Fields, who doesn't have a secure job, Deshaun Watson, who sucked ever since his issues, Bryce Young, who's not really proven anything, And then guys like Jared Goff, who I kind of feel like are similar to Dak. Dak has a better track record overall. And then you have someone like Brock Purdy, who, while I do like as a real life quarterback, I'm not sure the ceiling is there. And the jury is still out kind of for fantasy. So yeah, that's kind of why. How do you feel about Josh Palmer long term? He's still young. Can he carve himself a significant starting role on the team going forward? It seems like most of his opportunities have come from injuries. I think Josh Palmer's like just okay. I think he's a good wide receiver 3 for an NFL team. I don't really have an issue with him in that role, but I don't think he's going to develop into anything more than that. So if you can get an opportunity to sell for any second would be great. Package him with a third for a second, I think is more realistic. Or even for 2/3, I would probably do that. Last question. Should I give AJ Brown for T. Higgins and a mid, possibly late 24 first, 12-team Superflex rebuild? Look, if you're rebuilding and it's this or nothing, T. Higgins is younger than AJ Brown. So I think I would probably lean toward doing that. But you can probably get more. T. Higgins' value is really depressed right now with all his injuries and issues and other things disappearing. I would try to squeeze out another second, but if it's this or nothing and you get the first with AJ, to get rid of AJ Brown, it's fine. It's kind of, I'm not excited about it, but it's fine. So I do appreciate everyone for sending in all those questions. Let me know what you think about the start sits. And if you have any start sit questions, feel free to put them in the comments of this video. I'll answer any of them there. And sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. I appreciate everyone for watching the video. And remember that our main show every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So you can check that out. And until next time, I will see you all later.